it, regretfully. But now that they turn 18, you're out of here. It kind of reminds me of, Jeff, my parents, I go to high school graduation, I get home, and they had a cake, right, on the table. That was all cool and everything. I was 17 years old, and I walk in there, and there's this cake, and my aunt and uncle were there too, and they had this really pitiful look on their face because they understood the ramifications of what I was going to get. And they had this large box that was all wrapped up. My parents did. So I go over there and I unwrap it, and it's luggage.
Wow.
I mean, of all the things to get your kid for graduating high school, luggage. That's just amazing. Anyway, hey, let me go to Roger in Arkansas. He's on the line now. Roger, how you doing?
Pretty good. How are you doing tonight, John?
I'm doing okay. Did you get luggage for graduating high school?
No, but when you mentioned that, my second wife, she had 2 kids, and I told them when they graduated from high school, they were going to get a set of luggage and their choice of a state map, a U.S. map, or a world map.
You didn't care how far they were leaving.
You got to kick them out of the nest sometime.
Yeah. Were you afraid that they weren't prepared?
I guess they were. They seem to have made it all right.
Oh, there you go. Okay, go ahead and ask your question.
All right. What you were talking about earlier, you're talking about spirit and soul and stuff. When we read the Bible in English, we put meanings on the English words that the Hebrew and the Greek that they were translated from didn't have. And you take the word spirit, and the word that we translate from the Hebrew and the Greek both just means breath or wind. It doesn't have any kind of, thing that, some kind of embodiment of something that floats around. And the word soul, comes pretty much from the King James Bible. And what the soul is the combination of the body and the spirit. Remember, it said, God made man of the dust of the ground, or made Adam of the dust of the ground, and blew into his nostrils the spirit or the breath of life, and Adam became a living soul. So a soul is what you are. It's not something that you have. A lot of times, on the airplanes and stuff, they'll say, there are so many souls aboard. And it's another thing, in Christianity, they talk about when you die, you're going to heaven, that's where their home is. But let's face it, we're made of the dust of the ground. We're made of dirt, and this is, where we're from. And when you read in Revelations, it doesn't say we're going to heaven. It says God will make his dwelling place with men. And Jerusalem, the New Jerusalem, is coming down to the earth. So I don't think anybody's going to heaven. But, when you're talking about the children in daycare, there was a study done, and I don't know, it's been a long time since I heard it, but it was on the news, that they deduced that the more time a child spends in daycare, the more violent he turns out to be. Now, really? Part of our problem today is, that too many people consider raising children a hobby, but it's not a hobby, it's a job. And what the government has done is, in days gone by when people used to have big families, children were assets. Today they have become liabilities. All you hear is, well, it costs this much to raise a child today. When before, the child was part of the family and part of the work and part of the, part of life. And he was an asset and not a liability.
Yeah, and an asset on the farm. Because for every child you had, and especially males, that meant more fields were going to be plowed and harvested. Hey, it was a great call, Roger. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I enjoy your show.
Hey, thank you. Different perspective than mine, I guess, there. But hey, there is nothing wrong with that, folks. That was a good call either way. Hey, Jeff, we were talking, boy, man, you and I, when we're not doing a show, we still have interesting conversations, and we were going back and forth today about aliens and all that kind of stuff. What in the world have you seen as far as UFOs? Because I've shared with my listeners, I've had 2 experiences with UFOs. The big one was in the daytime when I was 5 years old, the size of a football field, just about 2 blocks away. The other one is at night. I could have hit it with a baseball. So I've had a couple close encounters. What have you seen in the skies?
Yeah, I've seen a UFO a single time, and the UFO phenomenon is very common. And it's always people who are curious and who are not so rigid in their thinking. Those are the ones who are prone to seeing them. And sometimes people say, well, that doesn't make any sense. It has to be just all made up. I've never seen a UFO, and you've seen 4. Why didn't I see 1? People always often say that. But that's because of telementation. We create our reality. So if you believe that there's what is real is what's on TV, as millions do, then you're not going to see a UFO because you're going to, with your consciousness and with your telementational power, create a world where everything is just like you see on TV, which is war, hate, shallowness, destroyed families, stupid, dopey male role models like on Friends and so forth. But, I saw a UFO. I've discussed this on my show in huge detail, so I'll just give the real high points right now. And there are some amazing points. I used to really be into photography or filming chemtrails. I was going to make a film on chemtrails called The Philosophical Ramifications of Chemical Spraying, but I've never got too far in it. And one time I was I was in the habit of looking up at chemtrails years ago, and not so much anymore. But I was one time out in my driveway playing basketball. This was in, was it May? I can't remember. May 20 or 18, 2007. And my girls were running around, and I was there playing basketball, and I just was watching a plane. For a moment, just paused for a moment to watch a chemtrail plane spraying us all, and all of a sudden, I said, "What's that?" There was something behind it, moving in a perpendicular direction, probably about 5 plane lengths behind the plane. The plane's way up there. It's hard to tell, but it appeared to be at a similar altitude, but it's hard to tell. It was way up, of course. Yeah. But the point is all of a sudden it was there. Okay, now this is a lot of people that are listening recognize this as just the epitome of a UFO experience, a very common experience. All of a sudden something just appears. Brother Michael Diamond wrote that wonderful book. I forgot the title of it, but it's all about that sort of UFO experience. That teeny little book you can buy on Amazon or wherever. I think at his monastery you can as well. But anyways, so this thing was moving faster than the plane in a perpendicular direction. It was dark gray, and then as it moved, about a second later, it started to change to lighter and lighter gray. And then all of a sudden it got so light, it started to emit light. And it even radiated and shined so much light. I don't know if it was a reflection from the sun, because it was a very sunny day, or if it was actually emitting light or whatnot. And then at its highest point, then it started to decrease back to the light gray, then the dark gray, and then bam, it vanished all of a sudden. Wow. And the most amazing thing about it, John, is not that simple, because that sounds, very much like a standard, that Nazi UFO technology that our government, of course, has and been around for a long time, so no big deal. But what was almost traumatizing to me is the mental aspects. I had a whole show, not on the specific mental aspects, but what it means that what I'm about to tell you happened to me. Now, actually, this was triggered by Scott Stevens, believe it or not, the weather guy, who he on my show predicted, like I was telling you, we need to get him on. Don't tread on me if this happens. He predicted an Illuminati earthquake, as I call him, in a couple of weeks in Greece or Spain, so we'll see if he's right. He had a whole bunch of reasons why. When he's on my show, he did that. But